Yo, what's going on, Hoops Tribe? I am here with a few members of the Women's Basketball 365 team, and we're talking about what surprised us in the 2025 season. There has been so many things. I'm going to kick it off to Erin. What surprised you about these playoffs in 2025?
Listen, I said I was going down with the ship, right? I said it. I actually remember a video that you posted like weeks before the postseason started, and you said that Phoenix was a contending team and you expected them to make it to the finals. And this was before we knew anything about seeding, so I just want to give you props for that. But but I really thought that the Liberty had it figured out right at the right time, and I really think that if Stewie hadn't gotten hurt at the end of that first game, that it might have looked a little bit different. They just looked like they were getting it together. So I was really surprised by game 2, and being at game 2, I was kind of worried about game 3. So I wasn't surprised after that point, but I was surprised that the Liberty just couldn't get it done, but I think that they were very close. So I was definitely very surprised by that.
Let me ask you this. Were you surprised that Emma Meesseman wasn't really that key that everyone expected her to be to get the Liberty to the championship?
In hindsight, yes, but if you really look at it, like, she didn't have enough time to gel, like, she was just kinda thrown in there. There were so many injuries, and she started off really hot, she cooled off a little bit, and she wasn't really utilized in the postseason, and actually from game 1, she didn't look like she had it, and so I wanted to give Sandy Brondello some props as far as, like, making a quick executive change, like, "Okay, if she doesn't have it, we're gonna go to someone else." But then she didn't really utilize the bench, so it was kind of, like, head scratching, like, "Okay, what are we really doing here?" So, as far as Emma Meesseman is concerned, I just don't think she had enough time. So, in the end, I am but I'm not surprised that it went the way it did.
I'm surprised that they let go Sandy Brondello while we're talking about the New York Liberty. And I know this isn't specifically about the playoffs, but it could be about the playoffs. It could be she could have been let go specifically because of the playoff performance. I think that her winning the championship should have been enough to buy her some time. And it just gives me what brings to mind is the question, what is turnover gonna continue to look like in the WNBA? Are coaches gonna have enough time to really figure it out? Because I think that coaches need time. Like you need time to really find that formula, to get your roster right, to get some of the assistants together. So I am surprised that they let go of Sandy Brondello, although they have been complaining about her, or there have been complaints in the media since she started, like 4 years ago or however long it's been. So I get it, but it's also like, dang, a championship wasn't enough? Your first championship ever that wasn't enough to buy her some time?
But she still made it back to the playoffs, and also it wasn't fair to her that I really think what was missing for the Liberty was the grit of Laney. But Naja Laney was missing. She has grit, and she brings spark to that team, and I feel like that's what was missing. And Emma Messiman was not going to replace that, in my opinion. Not
100%.
what Laney brought to the team. And JJ was also hurt, which I don't think they talked about. Not that it's not an excuse, but
They
I think he
didn't.
was also hurt as well.
They didn't.
I was not rooting for New York, though. That's
That's very clear.
yeah. But I like Stewie.
Facts. Was it Aaron, do you have a Stu York hat? Is that something that you have?
I sure do.
There we
It
go.
it took about a few weeks to get here, but I do, and I definitely woke up on time and made sure I actually had 2 of them in my cart, and I was like, "Let me be a nice person and not scoop up this second one." So I released the second one and I got it, but I know, like, by 10:05 in the morning, everyone was like, "They're sold out, they're sold out." And I was like, "Got it."
So how about the Indiana Fever?
Ay, ay, ay.
I'm surprised by the Indiana Fever.
I was
Yeah.
You
because
were.
I can't say I was. I can't say I was.
when they put Caitlyn on the bench, we haven't even got to my unpopular opinion. Listen, my unpopular opinion was that Caitlyn was never hurt. That's just my unpopular opinion. I have no facts. I don't think she was hurt. But Ari McDonald had came in, and she the reason why they got to the playoffs, but I feel like it was most of the people who was hungry and the underdogs that got the fever, and Kelsey, not taking away from what Kelsey Mitchell has done, but I wasn't surprised that Indiana got that far. This is why I wanted Atlanta to beat Indiana, because I did not want my team, the Aces, to go against a rough Indiana team, and I was actually not surprised at Atlanta either, unfortunately, but I
Unfortunately.
I was not surprised at the Fever. I think that I have always said that Fever has a really good team. They do.
Yeah, I think that was part of what had me surprised was I knew Kelsey was going to be a pivotal part in them being in the playoff run. It was like right there, so it was like okay, they're there, but is it really going to mean anything? Everybody's just kind of seeing where this is going to go, and then they beat Atlanta. I'm like, okay, y'all could have like stopped this before it got even louder, and everybody starts thinking that they have a shot. I'm like, okay, and then they get again, they get against the Aces. I'm like, it's looking too close, guys. And then I think the biggest surprising part was Odyssey Sims, personally for me. Like she just again, like her, Dana Evans kind of like had like kind of crazy games in the playoffs where it was just like they showed out when it was needed. And that last game with Odyssey Sims just kind of just taking over. Just like give me the ball, let me do what I do. I'm gonna get you the buckets. I don't know if it's gonna be everything like kind of with Caleb McBride. Like I don't know if it's gonna get us the win, but I'm gonna give you everything I got. And I can't, I can't knock that at the end of the day. Even though I'm not a big fan of the Fever, I like some of the players. Some players I'm not too big of a fan of, but I can at least tip my hat to Odyssey Sims and her just like kind of balling out and showing her skill set in that playoff.
I was surprised by Shea Petty. Because first of all, like if I were to play with Shea Petty in like 2K, like right now, she's not hitting those shots that she was hitting against the Aces.
Thanks.
And it pissed me off. Like you gonna wait till right now.
I did.
The standard.
Yeah. That playoff time, things change sometimes. Things change in playoff
But they
time.
have those people had like that underdog mentality. That's why I'm like they tapped into something different. They had a point school, people had been waived,
House money.
and they just was like, no, I'm about to show my ass against the
That's
Aces.
facts.
That's what they
Yeah.
Jay Petty
You
was
can-
getting on my nerves. Because when did you start hooping like this?
Literally, like when they really beat up on the Aces. Like this is a very physical team. I'm gonna be interested to see what happens next season for the team. I was leaning to the point where I thought that Caitlyn was actually hurt. But now, Mercedes, I think I kind of buy into I don't believe that she was hurt enough. Like, I think that she originally was hurt, but I don't know if she was hurt enough to be deactivated for the rest of the season. I think they might have just called it. Like, it not necessarily had anything to do with the injury, but I kind of buy into that because when I'm thinking about what the injury is in itself, it just doesn't take that long to rehab from. It does take a while, and I do take into consideration that they weren't resting her as they should have in the first half of the season. I think it could have been contributed to, well, she needs to rest in order to fully, like, rehab, and then maybe, like, her conditioning wouldn't be together, and if her condition is not together, then that could lead to more injury. Maybe that was a situation. I don't know, but based off of some of her, like, sideline antics and then being able to go play golf now that the season is over, and golf does uses your upper body, but it definitely uses your hamstring and your groin. So it's interesting. So I'm not, like, I won't say that that's a lie. I kinda, like, I feel where you're coming from with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that her inability to see the need for growth in her game is gonna be her biggest downfall as a basketball player. That's what I think.
I concur.
Mhm.
So my question is, do you think that was more of like a Fever thing shutting her down, or that was more of like a Caitlyn thing? Like, I don't think I'm ready to come back. Which do you think it was?
Honestly, it may have came from higher ups because I don't necessarily think that Caitlyn would be the type to say, like, "Nah, I don't wanna play."
Mhm.
But, I mean, I could definitely be wrong about that. I don't really know. I just feel like she was a bit distracted this season.
Mhm.
I think that, basketball is about chemistry, it's science, and I don't think that her and Sophie Cunningham are the right chemical ingredients, and
Not basketball-wise.
Yeah, but exactly. It might not even be personally, but, that's another story. But I just don't think that she's in an environment that is conducive to her growth. I think that she's around a lot of enablers, and I feel like that shows. So yeah, I don't know where that came from, but it probably came from higher ups because they're looking at, she's the moneymaker. They're looking in the future and then they're getting a lot of criticism. There was a lot of criticism after she was hurt and what the Fever medical team looked like. And just seeing how successful they were with the sign-ons with, Ari McDonald, Odyssey Sims, like everybody else, Shea Petty, everybody else stepping up. They're like, we're doing all right now. Like, we don't need to, let's see what we can do.
They weren't just doing all right, they were doing better.
Right.
Like, we're doing better.
Mm.
I just personally think they realized, okay, our offense is running real good, guys, and they like, we just might need to sit her down because it really started looking really good for them when she was sidelined. Anytime she was playing, me with my arguments with my trainer at the gym, who's a big Caitlin Clark fan, I'm like, they're not going to win if they're running the offense through her. But once she sit down, you will see that this team actually is really good. But I don't think that Caitlin has to be benched. I just think the offense can run mainly through her for Indiana to be good. It don't have to.
Doesn't have to be a point guard.
No, she doesn't at all.
I think that's a part of the lore, I think, around her is that she has to be at the center of the offense at all times because of the name. She can shoot. Why wouldn't you give her the ball? Why don't we see Caitlin with the ball more? If she got the touches that she should get, because we know there is some things she needs to work on, like being able to go both ways, not being able to really run the offense. She can get assists and all that, but running an offense is getting everybody involved, keeping everybody in flow, knowing the tempo, knowing what the clock is, knowing what time in the quarter all of that stuff. Again, she's still young, she's still developing, but if they give her some time, she can develop into that stuff. But right now, I don't think that's what she needs. Especially if you have a Kelsey that prayerfully she comes back and is 100%, and you get other pieces. Now you see Odyssey and what she can do. You don't need to have her be the center because now there's too much weight on her, and she already has a spotlight. Just let her go out there and hoop. And then I think some people would think it's going to die down the the talks of oh, she's the best, all this other stuff. But no, it'll allow her to really shine in what she does. Everybody likes her because she can shoot. Let's not act like she was just this bona fide winner. When did she become a bona fide winner? Everybody take star and winning and try to make them synonymous when it's no, you're a star, but you still haven't shown the winning. The winning has to come through later. You got to learn that part. You're in a league with a lot of great players. Let's not act like you just ain't here with anybody. Come on now. So I think that'll be a good, next 2 to 3 years, see how that develops over time.
I know, but the idea that she's a star is born out of LSU winning a championship. That's just the truth. I didn't know who she was. I knew who Paige was and all these. I didn't know who this player was until the Tony Yayo, you see me stuff. And that's when her name kind of blew up. Now, can she shoot the ball? Absolutely. But I personally don't think she's good for the league because she is a person who's complicit in some of the fans' behavior. But that's just my opinion. The W was I feel like now that she's in there, I feel like there's division in the W that wasn't there before. That's what I think because of some of the stuff that's happening. And I don't like that for the league because the black and white players were pretty much united at one point. So I like that part about the W, them being united. But when she does unite and speak up and use her voice, Maya Moore also spoke on this in the interview. Somebody literally asked her about this, and she said Caitlin had a lot more growth to do beyond basketball, and I think that's what she's missing.
I think this takes us into a good this is a good segue into what's your unpopular sports take of 2025. Who kicking this off? Or should I kick it off?
You can kick it off.
It's kind of piggybacking off of what we've already talked about, but I think a few players fall into this category. But I think what the Aces have showed us with winning this championship specifically is that you can lead with grace. I think that A'ja Wilson is really showing a new way of leading a basketball team.
Yes.
Before A'ja, this is my favorite player, Kobe Bryant. But his the Mamba mentality, how he treated his teammates, he's notorious for being an asshole, to his teammates, just keeping it straight up, just being mean. I don't think that is the one way to do things. And I think that we're seeing Alyssa Thomas potentially ending her career with no ring.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of it is due to how her on-court demeanor. And you see that also in Skylar Diggins.
Mhm.
And then it may be early to say, but I think that Caitlin Clark is also going down that same road with their on-court demeanor towards their teammates specifically. Like, I'm not saying that you have to be, like, nice to everybody. I think that it's good to have fire, especially when it's your opponents. But when it's your team, that matters because everybody is looking at that, and especially in the age of social media where we're clipping everything. There's so many clips of all three of those people that I just named being derogatory towards teammates. And I just think that the Aces have shown us that you can have fun, you can be a family, you can love on each other in the midst of turmoil. Because they went through the lowest of lows this season. I've said multiple times during this season that it feels like a testimony. Like this is a word, this is a living word that we witnessed with the Aces. Literally the lowest of lows, getting written off to winning the ultimate prize, and they did it the whole time through love. There could have been so many moments where Asia could have, like, publicly said something about Jewel Lloyd, publicly said something about Chelsea Gray. At no moment did she do that. So I think we're in a new day and age, and I love to see it in this time.
No, I think you're spitting facts. Like, Asia is, if you read her book, I think that she has the type of emotional stamina because she started therapy at a young age. So she has that emotional intelligence and maturity to love people through it and not shame people through it. But we have to be honest, like our America's society is rooted in shaming people into being better. She's loving people into being better. And that type of love ethic just comes from really her parents, where she's from, how she's rooted. And I'm like, this is homegrown for her, I think. I think it's easy for her to be lovable. But she holds them accountable though. She holds them accountable. She just doesn't shame them when she do it. Now that you just really hit a word. I might write about Asia.
I agree. I think there's some elements of tough love in there too, because if you remember after that 53-point loss against Minnesota, she basically said, and I was on the record of saying, if you were not embarrassed about that loss, don't show up. And that's exactly what a leader needs to say. She's not pointing fingers. She's also putting herself in that equation. Like, if this doesn't ignite a fire under you, then don't even show up. And I love that about her as well. But you're right. Like, I'm sure they have hard conversations, but they epitomize like the meaning of the word family. Like, we don't hear any of those discussions. I would say on the extreme other side of that is Seattle. There's like a new like rumor about them every other second, and we hear this person may have said this person may have said that. And
Yeah,
the Aces are the antithesis of that. Like, as much as they went through during the season, you hear not a peep, not a rumor, not a nothing. You
love
see
it.
a united front, and that is, like, truly to the testament of Asia for 1000%.
Agreed. They have a mutual trust and respect for each other. It just really shows to me. And sometimes I actually be like, dang, my team is too nice because these teams are out here pushing on them. They're so nice and loving, but give somebody an elbow every now and then.
No, I definitely agree. I think that team, like you said, that it was a testimony, but it was also like you don't have to cut corners to win. Like you can go through the mud, you can go through the dirt, you can have a stumble, you can have bad games and still group together. You can work together. You can take the whole like you can literally take the whole season to get hot. Like as long as you're staying in contention, you can get to the end of the season and be like, all right, cool. We're just now getting it together, but we're getting it together at the right time. Because if it would have been the opposite and they got hot the beginning of the season in the last 8 games, they started to taper off and something happened, it would have looked bad. It would have been like, okay, you had everything, all the momentum, and it just bottomed out. But I think that was kind of sadly without the injuries, I think Minnesota would have had a different outcome. But that's kind of how it seemed for Minnesota. Like they were doing so well. Everything's going so good. Okay, it's seeming like they're gonna get there. We already writing people in for MVP. We know the finals gonna look like this, and then it's like, oh, what happened? Like it just kind of just disappeared. And it was just like overnight, it was just like, wow, okay, well, guess they aren't going to do it this year. So I think definitely that testimony was true. And again, being able to call your teammates out, being able to hold them accountable, being able to hold the coach accountable to what's going on too, like that's I think a big part of that from coaching to players and knowing your star players. The star player being able to be like, yo, I don't need to hear from coach right now. Y'all need to hear from me as the number one player on this team. Y'all know who this ball go to. We need to get this together as a team. It's not just me. It's not just coach. It's us as a team, and then rallying everybody together for Dana to have a crazy playoff run, for Jewel to step up in big moments, for Chelsea to feel like I'm a part of everything. Everybody got to feel it. Again, you got to do the hard stuff, the dirty stuff, the stuff you don't want to do just to get to a place to be able to win. If you don't do it, you're not going to be there. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. I think they created an element of safety in Vegas to where they can say, yo, you play like shit to each other, not for us to hear. So the safety is like, you're not saying this because you want to hurt my feelings. You're saying this because you know I got more in me. I'm capable of more. I think they have created the type of safety that we all should strive to create in relationships. And that's what they've created in Vegas. It's really beautiful. I was blown away by Becky. I'm not gonna hold you. I've been talking about Becky blew my mind.
We need a doc. We need a doc on this season. We need a doc on this season alone. Just all the accomplishments, all that went on. Like this would be a fire doc. Netflix, y'all need to get on that. Somebody, Hulu, somebody.
Mercedes, I want to hear your unpopular sports take.
I think I've already shared a few. I mean, okay, I do have. I don't know if this is unpopular, or if it's just like, are the WNBA fans ready for our faves to be capitalists? I want them to get the CBA and I want them to get all their money, but everybody has these really irrational expectations of these players. They were mad that Paige went to a Chris Brown concert, or they were mad that Stewie is doing something with J.K. Rowling. While I understand that, I do understand the frustration, but when they get the CBA and they get worked out and they get paid their worth, that comes along with sometimes shutting the fuck up about things. And I don't know if we're ready for that as fans, and that could be a little disappointing. I think that's what I've been thinking about. I do want the women to be paid, though, and I want them to rest. So that's my piece. I think the fans are ready.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. That sounds like something you could write about too.
Child. I don't know. People get tired. I'm like, I'm like, I want them to be paid well, but the fans really be wilding on Threads, canceling people every other week.
Listen, that's why I had to limit my time on Threads, because I'm like, I log on and be like, who are we mad at today? And I don't want to be mad at people.
Always needs to be a target. I think you're right. I think there is a certain like accessibility that comes with, you know, how much they're not being paid. I think they seem really accessible as human beings, and so a lot of fans think they have the what's the word? God. Where they feel like what is the word I'm trying to think? It starts with
It's like a parasocial relationship between the fans.
No, it starts with I get a lot when I'm bartending that people feel like because they're tipping you that they own you. So
okay.
They don't mean and stuff.
Yes. So like we feel like, not we, but I'm speaking for myself, but like as fans feel like because they are so accessible, like that they are allowed to peer into their lives and judge them for certain things like that. I think that goes hand in hand. But I think you're right. Once they get paid their worth, there becomes a little bit more of a gap.
Yes, because people start losing endorsements. I mean, I'll accept Natasha Cloud. Natasha's going to remain Natasha, and that change. I don't think T Cloud is going to change. She's been this way. But I've noticed a few players already being quiet who used to be more vocal. I actually emailed the WBAPA and asked them, I wanted them to know, maybe it wasn't them I should email, but I have noticed that they have walked back DEI with the way they took Black Lives Matter off the course. They took all of this stuff off the course. I'm like, I paid attention. You guys have walked back DEI just like the rest of America. So I'm like, it's definitely going to come with stipulations of the players may have to say less, I think. And I will not judge them because I don't pretend to know what it's like to be in those positions. I just think the WNBA fans they have to adjust their expectations of these players because they're human as well.
What other stipulations are you thinking about? Because I'm curious about like how the other leagues might come about. Like, what will they say about Unrivaled? Like, will they start writing clauses in, like, if you want to play for the WNBA, you can't play on Unrivaled? Like, is there any potential of that happening? Like, I wonder what other stipulations, be like, okay, we're going to give you this X over here, but then you have to, take this. So I'm wondering what other stipulations.
I think that Unrivaled could become like a G League for the WNBA.
I don't think it is, though, because
it's not. But I
I
think
think
it
that
had
they already did try to throw in that stipulation that you're talking about, where they say you can't play because
they
I
did.
can't remember who it was it might have been Angel Reese, but they were if you
Ooh,
you said who?
it was
Gotcha.
that.
Oh, Satu. Yeah, like, you can't if you're not gonna pay us enough, you can't say that we can't play with these other leagues because you're not paying enough. So, from what I know, the WNBA had an opportunity to invest in Unrivaled, and they did not. So, they see them as direct competition. But then I don't know if you've heard about the other leagues that are happening. There's one, is it a Saudi team?
Parker is
Saudi
at the top of that.
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's a lot of leagues coming out of the woodwork, and the WNBA could, be phased out if they don't get things under control right now.
I don't think they'll be phased out, but I do know that the Saudi league has already caught a bunch of backlash just because of the way that they treat women in that country, and everybody has already said they weren't gonna support it. But they are paying people more money. So again, I'm like, you can't be mad at your fave for going to get this money in Saudi because America is not paying them well. I think Diana Taurasi hit on this about in her documentary. Like, I got to go to Russia to be paid.
Russia, yeah. Yep.
Communist country. Yeah,
That
yeah.
was a big thing I saw too. Just seeing what the financial aspect looks like. I think one of my unpopular sports takes would be that kind of what you just said, Cassie. If anything was to happen to the W, it would be because of the NBA. The
Mhm.
lack of leadership that the NBA has seemed to not, uh, I feel like foster. Like if you're as Adam Silver is supposed to be helping guide and bring things along and be in partnership with this. Why is there so many pitfalls that are coming up when you are handling things for billions of dollars with TV networks and ads and everything? If you got this big thing that's already working and you're supposed to be the best of the best, and now what we see now coming out with what's going on in NBA, like lawsuits, federal indictments, all this other stuff, something wasn't working over here already. So you probably could have put all your attention to where it really could have been helping the WNBA because of your lack of actually sitting with the work that needs to be done. You want to bring in all this foreign players, you want to bring in all the foreign eyes, you want to spread the game across the world. Why do you want to? It seems like, again, you want to move the game outside of America, but because of what? Because of, I think personally, just from seeing everything trickle out now, there's something going on that people in the big rooms and the boardrooms and those meetings are having conversations about that. It might be there's something here that's causing friction. There's something here that's causing some kind of turmoil for them to not maybe do things how they want to, or there's certain laws that might be in place that you can't do this because of that. And I think that plays a factor into why WCBA has not been passed, or things haven't just been so like lackluster. Why do you have so many people pushing for a lockout? Why do you have so many people saying that a lockout is imminent? Why do you have so many people just bringing up common things, the way players should be treated, what you should be paid, how they like if you can go from here to there in a league sense, like, oh, I can play here, but I can't play there. If I play for this team, I can't come back. Like we want to get paid. This is like corporate America. Like there are people making minimum wage, and we think that the $12 or $14 that people are making is enough for the cost of living. These women are putting their bodies on the line month after month, day after day, working out, needing trainers, needing recovery, but they can't get paid for somebody who's a pro athlete. That just doesn't, you know what I'm saying? This doesn't make sense to me. So I think the MNBA would be at fault for why the W would have any faults coming after it, and I think that's just kind of how it trickles down.
That's true, but speaking on the MNBA, I feel like when I'm looking and reading stuff, they have a decline in viewership in the MNBA. And Nike had a decline in male basketball shoes and lifestyle shoes. Women's basketball has single-handedly saved Nike, and I only know that because I invest a little bit. Deckers Outdoors, which is Hoka and all those shoes,
Yep.
and Brooks, they are outselling Nike. So
Yep.
Asia and Sabrina and Paige and Juju them, they saved Nike. I think what's LeBron's main guy name? Lucky, what's his name? Rick Paul. He was just talking about this. He was like, it was women that brought in the most money to Nike.
Yep.
I think they need women's basketball. They're just
Oh
afraid.
yeah.
No, I don't think they want it, period. Just
So
listening to Nancy Lieberman, she had an interview where she was talking about her relationship with David Stern and how basically she was talking in code and he was talking in code with her. Like, there are people that wanted to stop him from even making this a thing. And it took 10 years from his initial conversation with Nancy for them to even form the league because of all the obstacles that he had to go through. And then what we know historically about how America treats women. Like, yeah, we try to dress it up because, women have some equal rights like now, but let's be for real. Like, we're not that much better than Saudi. You know what I'm saying? Like, women looking for me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't think there's people in these higher rooms that don't even want this to be a thing, but at the same time, they have to look progressive. They can't
Right.
full out say, that we don't want it to happen, because then that would be a lot of backlash. But they're going to do everything that they can to stop it from happening or to slow down the progress. And that's what has been happening.
I agree. And I have my own theory about the reason why they don't want to pay the women well, and it's because it's predominantly Black women, and there is an agenda to keep Black wealth below a certain amount. That's just my opinion. Tennis women, they get paid well in tennis, but it's not predominantly Black players. The WNBA is predominantly Black women. So I think that's a part of the reason why they're not trying to move the needle. But also, these women are very educated. And despite the Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham and what they may be and how they identify politically, they all on one accord about being paid. That's what they are.
Everybody want their money.
Because Sophie has been very vocal about, like, no, I want to be paid. I was seeing on Good Morning America like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Like,
It was on Good Morning America.
wow.
Good for her. So, Erin, you're the last one. You haven't told us, what is your unpopular sports take?
Okay. Let's see. I had crickets after my last one, so let's see here.
I remember that one.
Well, I can't remember that one.
WNBA girlies could be the NBA. Yeah, I like that.
That was not received well at all. Okay, so I want to say that very, very thankful for like what Fee came out and said when she addressed, all the Kathy stuff. Very, very thankful that happened. It was a pivotal moment. It needed to happen. I'm happy that she aired all that out there. And this is my unpopular opinion, I just don't think it happens if Minnesota wins. I wonder
Okay.
if and when we might have seen her say that, or was them losing and her injury and all the, everything around that, which was horrible, by the way. But the just the way the events unfolded, if that was the catalyst of what, became Fee's press conference, or if that would have been kept under wraps and between closed doors. So I have a feeling that the Minnesota Lynx losing a little earlier than they anticipated may have been the catalyst for that conversation.
I think absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely, that was just, they lost again, because you already know that Minnesota, like, they're sore losers, but I love it. I don't care. Another unpopular sport, we need sore losers in the game. Like, I don't have to be happy that I lost. And I think that people should be allowed to have those emotions. I love it. I don't want to shake your hand, bro. No, like, what I'm saying? I forget. It's just, I'm cool with that. I love Cheryl Reeve. I love that Fee aired it out, but I do think you're right. I don't think that not in that moment. I think that maybe she talks about those statements from Kathy at some point, because it doesn't look like the CBA negotiations are going to happen as they, are. But I think that she that was definitely a catalyst. Now, do you think that she should have named names? Because I've seen a lot of back and forth about, like, oh, well, she shouldn't have specifically called out Caitlyn. Oh, she should, like, do you think that she should have been specific when she gave that statement?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think people know what they're doing when they're dropping certain names, and you're getting clicks and you're getting, this, that, and the other. But if it was my name, if just like hypothetically speaking, I may have wanted a heads up, like, hey, I'm about to go on record saying this, that, and the third, and I'm going to mention your name in this context, just so that like you can get in front of whatever might be said. So I think that might have been the only thing that I'm thinking about, but I think it gives a very necessary context into how dastardly those comments were. Like, they were just like, I mean, otherwise you couldn't make that stuff up. Like, you couldn't make those things up. So I think if she had been more vague, you don't really understand like the weight of it all. So I think she had to drop the names.
I agree 100%, 150%. Yes, you needed to drop those names and the quotes because those that I'm not gonna lie. That is why I said what I said about the MNBA. Because if Callie's sitting there talking with Adam and yet they're like kumbaya and sitting chatting and what's coming up or what did y'all stuff look like and well I got the ladies over here and this is what we got going on. These are our stars. For her to say what she said about they should be on their knees saying thank you for the that sounds like some of the big dogs up there saying that too. I feel like she's echoing what the big dogs are saying. So it's like if that's where they're going and that's where they're feeling, that's why they didn't rush to have anything signed or make any changes. Really, I think it came out recently in the past couple weeks since the season's been over that they bumped it up to like $1 million. Right. So, and then I think the minimum might have been 250 now, but then it's like that doesn't fix the other things that they were looking for. Just giving them a little more money isn't going to be the big change that you think it is. So it's like they are really just trying to throw them pennies and then be like, all right, keep pushing for the next, I don't know, 5-10 years, like whatever the next contract will be. But it's like I don't really want to make change. Again, going back to the Black Lives Matter, they moves from the core and the silent, pulling back of things like, okay, we're out of COVID. The racial tension is a little low. We don't got to do what we used to do. Everybody's back at work and in their systems again. So it's like, all right, cool. We can go back to what we used to. And it's like, just because y'all didn't say nothing don't mean that nobody saw it. Like y'all not slick. So I definitely agree that you got to drop some bombs sometimes. You got to shake. You got to shake it up because I don't think that nobody would have really taken it serious if she would have just air quoted, like slightly mentioned some stuff and been like, maybe like, nah, you gotta hit them where it hurt. Personally, that's what I feel like. You gotta make them hurt.
Yeah, and Jordan, you're not wrong about Kathy, like mimicking what men are saying because America has this thing called the glass cliff where they put women in positions to be bulldogs. That's what they were done, or in like, this is not all on Kathy. I know everybody on Threads like Kathy is playing an unfair game and she is complicit for sure, but she can't sleep at night. That lady is not sleeping well at night.
She is stressing.
She is stressed because but Kathy, I don't think she's going anywhere. Like her company that she came from, they are big investors in the WNBA. I started doing research. How did Kathy even get to this? Yeah, she came from Deloitte. I think she was a CEO. So I don't think she's going anywhere. And I think Adam was even like defending her recently.
I think so. And some of the Deloitte, some people that I've talked to, in the community just was talking. They were like, yeah, she's seeming to like have taken her same things from Deloitte to the W, and it's not much different. And I'm like, well, if this is how you were running one company, I don't really expect you to do much different here. So I'm like, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't seem like anything's really going to change with her. So we'll see how the next year pans out and how things progress.
That's for sure.
She said y'all are going to have to remove me.
It would take a lot, I think, like, because don't the owners of the team as well as the NBA all have to be in agreement in order, like, don't they have to like vote for it or something? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. And I think Yahoo Sports have been releasing anonymous owner quotes, and they all seem to have a problem with Fee is saying. People are upset with Fee, but they're doing they won't drop names. They won't drop names, but Yahoo Sports become very messy as of late. But they've been dropping all types of anonymous quotes saying people are not really on board with what Fee said, which Erin, you're right about Minnesota losing and then saying that. I thought it was unfair for her to read the letter while the season was still on, because then people started criticizing Asia and the Aces for not speaking on it. I'm like, they're trying to win a championship. So I do wish she would have just waited until the season was over. But I'm glad she read the letter for sure and see how she felt. But I wish her timing was different.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up by giving some thank yous to really the whole team. And that is Jordan, Mercedes, Jade, Erin, Chandra, Taylor, Erin, Erica, and Neko. Thank you so much for all of your contributions throughout this whole season. And we have Erin writing the stories for our New York Liberty, keeping us in the know of what's going on with Liberty Bibberty. Thank you so much. Your articles were great because I have found from one season to the next that I have to just focus on one team for the most part. I mean, I do follow Atlanta and I follow all of the teams as much as I can, but I really had to hone in. So I love the fact that you have New York so I can know. I text you when I need to know what's going on. Mercedes, you bring that element that is so much, it's needed so much because it's like, it's emotional. It's the science, like the emotional science, the EQ behind a lot of the things that's happening in the W. And people need that breakdown. Like, so you have been that voice for the people, and I appreciate that. Jordan, I said earlier, you've been like my right hand, but you're also that Washington Mystics reporter and keeping us in the know. We actually have an episode coming up with me and Jordan breaking down the Washington Mystics season. He gave them a really tough
That's a hot take in itself.
scorecard.
They're
We are
top
right.
4 next year. They're top 4 next year.
We are
Oh yeah. I take
right.
a little slight additional hot take just to throw in there. I think we should get Kennedy Carter from overseas and bring
I'm
him back.
not mad at that. She deserved to be in this league.
She needs to be back.
That's a little something for everybody to come watch the episode that we're gonna do for
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. And everybody else that on the list, y'all know what y'all do, and people will be more introduced to the team throughout this season because what's next? College basketball. And we are going to be keeping up with college basketball. So thank you everyone for your time. And as always, drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk hoops.